What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Curious Talk. I'm Caleb Magusi. Today, we have a very special guest, Jason Earles, who played Jackson on the hit TV show Hannah Montana, which everybody watched as a kid. Jason, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, man, for sure. Appreciate that. Man, if I slip up and call you Jackson, please forgive me.
No, man, you can call me Jackson. You can call me Jack. You can call me Rudy. You can call anything you want. I'll answer to all of it.
As long as I don't call you Miley.
Well, you can call me Miley. That'd be amazing. Like, that's a... yeah, you can call me worse things than Miley, that's for sure.
So, how did you get into acting, like, in the first place? I know you started nearly when you graduated from college.
Yeah, that's when I started to try to do it a little bit more professionally. I'd been acting since I was in elementary school. Like, the very first play I was in was Hansel and Gretel in elementary school. And I'm the middle of 5 kids. And so, yeah, so it was tough to get attention sometimes. And the thing that I quickly realized when I was in a play, my whole family had to sit in the audience and watch just me. So they were sort of like just this captive audience. All the attention was directed at me, so it was like the one way that I could get attention in this giant family.
Oh my gosh! So hold on. So you're the middle of 5 kids. You said that, right?
Yeah, middle of 5. I have 2 older brothers and then a younger brother and a younger sister.
Are they in the entertainment industry as well,
no,
or just you?
No. They do all sorts of random stuff. Like one of my brothers was in the Navy for a long time, and now he works in the medical field. I got another brother that works for like Epson printers. Yeah, they're sort of all over the place, doing lots of random cool stuff.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. So, can you describe to us how you got the part on Hannah Montana?
Yeah, that was a really weird, sort of an interesting chain of events.
I had a feeling too. It would be like that.
I had auditioned for a movie called Grandma's Boy, which was like an Adam Sandler produced comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And the casting director for that was Lisa London out of LA. And I went in, had a really great audition, didn't end up getting the part, but Lisa London remembered me and she sort of kept me in the back of her mind for something down the road. And then there was this pilot for Hannah Montana that came up, and she just called me out of the blue and asked if I would come and read for the producers for it. So I went in and did my audition, and it was for the producers of the show and for a couple of the people from the network, and had a really great audition. And as I was leaving the room, she came out and was like, "Hey, would you be available to test for the network the next week?" Which is like where you actually go to the Disney Channel building, mm-hmm. and it's all the executives and the head of the network, and it's where like the final decisions are made. And so I had my network call back like a week later. I read by myself. I did my regular audition scenes, and then I also did some scenes with Miley. And there was a couple of other people there reading as well. And then I think it was like maybe 4 days later, they called me and told me that I got the part. So my process was like very quick. It was like basically two auditions. And then I got it. But like Miley, she had sent in a tape 2 years before the show ever happened, and they said she was too young, and they couldn't find anybody that they loved for the role. And then eventually she like aged up enough that she was good for it, and she ended up being the gal. So I think casting her part was the hardest part, and then all the dominoes fell afterwards after she got the role.
So at this time, did you know who like Billy Ray Cyrus was? And I don't think Miley was too popular at that point.
No, Miley hadn't really. I mean, she had done a couple of little guest stars, like on her Billy Ray had done this show called Doc, like on some Canada or Canadian channel, like way back when. And I think Miley had done a couple of little guest star things on that show, but she hadn't really done a ton. She was in like Big Fish or like some movie before, but really very small parts. But I knew Billy Ray from growing up, and like,
well-known country singer.
Yeah, everybody thinks that he had one hit, which was Achy Breaky Heart before, and like was sort of a one-hit wonder. But the truth is the guy had like tons of #1 songs, had multiple like popular albums. He was really successful, and so I knew him from growing up. And then he was actually the last one cast on the show of the main series regulars. Everybody thinks Billy Ray came first, and then Miley got the opportunity because of Billy Ray, but it was actually the opposite. We had Miley, we had her best friend, I ended up being the brother, and then they just loved Billy Ray's chemistry with her in real life. They were like goofing off during the rehearsals while they were reading other dads. And at one point they sang a little song together, just sort of goofing off. And the Disney just loved their chemistry so much and thought they were so funny together that they asked Billy Ray if he would play the dad, and he ended up saying yes. And then suddenly they were both in the show together.
I always thought that Billy, since through his connections and everything, he was able to get it, and then he just added Miley on and named it Hannah Montana. I guess that was wrong.
Yeah, it was literally the opposite. But and what's crazy is it ended up being awesome that they were both on the show because, you know, we got like Dolly Parton. She played Miley's godmother in the show, and she's really like Miley's godmother in real life. So because Billy Ray and Miley had so many connections in their real lives, we were able to get some really cool guest stars to come in and be a part of the show just because they, you know, they love the Cyruses so much they wanted to be a part of it, which was really awesome for us. Because like Dolly Parton is probably the single greatest human being I've ever met. She's so kind. She's so sweet. She's incredibly talented. Even at like 75 years old, she has the voice of an angel. She literally hasn't lost anything. She's incredible.
She just released a great song, was back in May, called When Life Is Good Again. This is the first time I heard any of her songs, and it was amazing. She's
amazing. Like if you listen to her catalog, it's shocking, like how vast and incredible it is. And then if you go back and research the number of songs that she's written for other people, like the #1 hits that she's written on top of all of the stuff she's performed, she really is like, she's a legend. Like,
she is incredible. A legend, the human form of a legend. Jesus Christ. All right. So you spent a lot of time on set for a number of years with Miley, her dad, and Osmond Mitchell Musso. Did it ever feel like you guys were an actual family while filming it?
Yeah, I was really nervous going into the pilot and also the beginning of the first season because Miley and Billy Ray, they know each other. They've had so much chemistry and history being a real father-daughter. I was afraid that coming in and trying to play the brother in that situation, that I just wouldn't fit and I would be sort of isolated or whatever. And I'm telling you, literally by the second day, I was officially Jason Ray Earles. Like I had my own, like I was officially a Cyrus. They were so sweet to me. I lived really far outside of Hollywood where we shot the show. It took me about an hour and 40 minutes each way every day on top of rehearsals. The traffic was awful. It was a horrible commute. And they were so sweet. They were always like, do you want to stay in the extra room? Like you can ride with us to work in the morning. And like, they were just so generous and sweet from the beginning that I never felt like I wasn't part of that extended family. And even like there was so many of them around while we were shooting, like Miley's mama was around, who was a lovely woman. I think she recently passed away. It was very, very sad to hear that, but she was around and she was such a great sort of stabilizing influence on Miley. Tish, her mom, was around all the time. Noah, her little sister, she was around all the time. Like she used to be like teeny tiny, and when I would show up to work, like Noah would come running down the hallway to jump up and give me a big hug. She's just like the cutest little thing. And I felt like immediately accepted by them. So it was great. It was like my family size doubled overnight by getting that show.
So you had pretty fun years on there. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was probably, if I looked at my entire career, I've been in Hollywood for almost 20 years now. Yeah. That period of time is really just, it's magic for me. I have so many great memories of it.
But was it cool seeing a star? Because when you first saw her, she was not a big sensational star as she is right now. So was it cool? Hey, she really grew up to this big star right in front of your eyes. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal at first because, I feel like maybe 10 years or 20 years down the road, somebody will go back and do like a sociology study on Hannah Montana and like this whole phenomenon that what we did is we made this show where we took a girl who had no history of being like a pop star or a music career or any of that stuff. And we told the audience that she was an international pop star. And the show premiered, and instantly overnight, the world looked at her as an international pop star, and she was selling records and she was selling out stadiums for internationally. Yeah. And literally it was just because we told them that's what she was, and she it was crazy. And then the thing that I think was sort of brilliant on Miley's part is very early on, she negotiated the ability to do Miley Cyrus stuff right next to the Hannah Montana stuff. So like, if you look at her first real concert tour, when we were doing the show, the first act was Hannah Montana and she would do songs from the show. And then the second act was Miley Cyrus and she would do original music. And so she was really able to continue to forge her own identity and build her own personal fan base while the show was growing. And it was really, really cool to watch her go from this girl who really had never performed in front of giant crowds before to selling out 70,000 seat arenas in 90 seconds. Like it was
And
humbling and crazy to watch it happen.
that's awesome. That is awesome. It's awesome. So, are you anything like Jackson in real life?
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, I think as an actor, you always draw upon aspects of yourself to like convincingly play a character. I don't think you can really play something that's not potentially in there a little bit. You know, maybe you're not a murderer in real life, but like, you know, you experience little moments of rage and you tap into those things, and that's how you play, you know, a murderer. For me, like, I think boys are inherently obnoxious and our senses of humor are stupid, and we like to be rough and tumble and goof off. And that's what Jackson was. So whether, you know, my sense of humor when I was 12 was the same as when I was 16, was the same as when I was 25. Like, so having permission to just literally goof off. And the only job that I really had to do was, what's the funniest way we can shoot this scene? What's the goofiest thing I can do in this moment? Yeah, I think I enjoy those things, and I look for those moments in my real life as well. I think I'm probably a little bit more responsible in real life, maybe a little bit more logical. I was a biology theater double major.
Oh,
So
wow.
like when I was doing theater, I was always really goofy and carefree and loosey-goosey, and those are sort of the aspects of myself that, you know, would apply to Jackson. But like when I was doing the sciences, I'm very logical and I'm very pragmatic, and I want to understand the how and the why. And that side of it actually serves me better. Like when I'm directing, I started directing a little bit on Kicking It, and I've done some stuff for Disney and Netflix, and that sort of scientific side where you're really looking at how all the pieces work together and what's the most efficient way to get things done. I think that side of my brain is sort of really useful for that job, and then the goofy stuff is good for the acting side. So, yeah.
That's good. Wait, was it like, is it difficult to like, hey, go home and study all those lines and memorize all of them, or is it just like studying for an exam at school, or is it a little bit different?
It's totally a muscle. The first couple of episodes are tough because you're not in practice, you know, so it takes a lot of repetition or whatever your trick is to learn your lines, but it takes more work. I would say by like the third or fourth episode in any of the seasons, my brain was really wired to try to like absorb the lines. So, you know, even just I would memorize the lines through rehearsals mostly, just from the repetition of doing it in rehearsal. And then it really didn't require a ton of effort outside of rehearsals to finish, you know, memorizing the last 20% or whatever. The other thing too is you can't really lock it in too early, because the way the sitcom shooting schedule works is you rehearse Monday, or you do a table read on Monday where everybody sits around and you listen to the words for the show. And while you're rehearsing that day, the writers are already rewriting the script based on what jokes worked or didn't work in the table read. And then so when you come in on Tuesday, you rehearse the new script, and then you do a run through at the end of the day, which is sort of like a show and tell of everything that you've done. And based on how well the jokes work there, they're already rewriting the script for Wednesday. So like if you memorize everything from Tuesday, it's not necessarily going to apply on Wednesday. You do the same thing on Wednesday with the run through at the end of Wednesday, and then they'll rewrite the jokes. And then the script you get on Thursday is the one that you shoot. So,
and also you're not in the business of memorizing, you're in the business of emotions. So it's not like it's not memorizing the speech, can't be kind of thing.
Yeah, what ends up really being the trickiest part is, so like they're changing the words all the time. So I would try to do my best to be really, really funny in the table read on Monday, so they would rewrite less of my stuff. So I would have more time to perfect it throughout the week, as opposed to it constantly being rewritten throughout the week. But like, it gets really tricky when you're getting new words, and then not only do you have to memorize them, but then there's like maybe physical comedy that requires really specific timing. And if the words change, then all that timing changes for the physical comedy. You have to figure out how to make all that stuff blend and actually, you know, be effective. So that was sort of the art of it that happens week after week. But again, by the third or fourth episode, you get into such a good rhythm that you're so adaptable and you're so ready to like roll with whatever the changes are. It really ends up not being that big of a deal.
I used to think that it was like the most difficult thing in the world to come home and memorize 30 minutes worth of lines.
No, it's not that bad. I actually have a harder time memorizing lines for movies where you're just doing like maybe like 6 pages a day versus like the whole sitcom script. For whatever reason, since you're just doing little chunks of the story, it doesn't stick in my head as easily. So I just have to work harder to get the next day's material in my head. Versus the sitcom, you're telling the entire story. You sort of always know where you're at in the story. It's just easier for my brain to like grab onto those things and like cram them in there because I can track it a little easier.
All right. So from the entire Hannah Montana cast, who was your favorite working with?
They were all, this is such a politically correct answer. They were all incredible in their own way. And I mean that like honestly. Miley was not the most polished actress when we started. She was probably the roughest just from like a technical acting skills perspective, but she was so funny and she was so charismatic and she was so willing to just sort of roll with the joke that she was just incredibly fun to do scenes with. You never quite knew what you were going to get. So you always had to be like adaptable and willing to sort of, just sort of react to whatever she was giving you. Emily Osment, who was the best friend who played Lily on the show, she, like her brother was, I think he won an Academy Award for Sixth Sense. Haley Joel Osment. And the dad was a former actor and her acting coach. And so from a very, very young age, she has just been like honing her craft. So right out of the gate, she was probably technically a better actress. She was like super reliable, super prepared. And so it was really fun because you knew what you were going to get from her. Like it was really dependable. So kind of dealing with both of those two personality types, the loosey-goosey of Miley and then like the structured with Emily, was fun and challenging in their own ways, but I loved the chemistry between all of us, so it was really, really fun. Now, my favorite just person, I love them all equally, but Moises Arias, who played Rico.
That's what I figured.
I love him so much, dude. He's literally the funniest little man of all time, and he's an actual adult now, but like I worked with him on Hannah, and then I worked with his brother Mateo on Kicking It. He played Jerry on Kicking It. So I was literally around both those guys, their whole family, for like 9 straight years.
Wow.
And by the second season of Hannah, I went up to Moises's mom and I was like, hey, God forbid anything happens to you, can I please have your boys? Like, I love them. I want to take care of them. I want them to be my boy. Like, I hope nothing ever happens to you, but if it does, can I please have them? And so I've been their godfather since like the second season of Hannah.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. They're incredible. They're the best.
That's great, man. Do all you guys still keep in touch today? You, Miley, Emily, Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, to various degrees. There's long periods of time where we don't get a chance to talk to each other or see each other, but we're always really, really happy when we do. You know, I mean, it's been a decade since we finished the show, which sounds crazy, like when I say it out loud. So everybody's got so many things going on in their personal lives and their professional lives, and we've sort of scattered all over the country. I think Mitch Musso is in Texas, I think. Miley's all over the place. I mean, she was in Australia for a really long time and different places in California, constantly working around the world. So it's harder to sort of keep in touch than I would like, you know, but I'm always, every time I run into any of them, we're just so excited to like catch up and goof off.
So Emily Osment was on Dadnapped with you. So how was it filming a new movie with your old co-star?
It was fun. And what's funny is Dadnapped happened, and then Moises Arias was also in it, oddly enough.
Yeah.
And then David Henry from Wizards was in it. Yep. And Phil Lewis from
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, exactly.
Yeah. Played Mr. Mosby.
Yeah, and so that was a really fun project because there was so many of us from all of these different places. We'd done promos and seen each other at different events for years. And then to spend like 5 weeks in Salt Lake City shooting this movie, it was absurd amounts of fun. And actually, one of my best friends came out of that show or that movie. George Newbern, who played the dad, is literally one of the funniest dudes I've ever been around. So as a whole, that was a really fun, weird experience, because if you actually watch Dadnapped, the movie's insane. Like, it's literally insane.
I watched it. It's awesome.
Her dad gets kidnapped, and like I'm end up being the villain in it, and like my plan is literally to make him write a novel and then kill him so
Oh
that
my
way I can
God.
sell the last novel that he like. That's so not Disney and so insane that like I can't even believe we made that movie. But
And
it
it's so far from your character from Hannah
yeah,
Montana as well.
I had the big pompadour, the big
Hmm.
dark hair
Oh
pompadour, and
my
the crazy
gosh.
jackets, and
You look like
yeah,
Satan himself. Yeah.
it was fun.
So what's the best part about being an actor, generally?
Um, for the most part, most of my roles has been just how ridiculous and goofy can you be, you know? And to get paid to try to be as funny as possible is it's really absurd that that's a job. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God.
And so I think just the fact that it's an environment where you get to be really, really creative, you get to be really collaborative. And if you don't know how to do something that they want you to do, they'll teach you how to do it. So like the very first movie I was in was National Treasure. And I drive this stagecoach to the White House in like the very beginning of the movie. I play Nicolas Cage's like great grandfather. I'm the first Gates family member that gets the secret of Charlotte that sets their whole family on this, you know, treasure seeker path
Yeah.
or whatever. But so like I had ridden horses before. I had a little bit of horse experience, but I'd never driven a coach before. And so like I flew out to Philadelphia with this stunt team, and I spent 3 days in this like horse arena. First, I started off with a little buggy with one horse, and then it was a buggy with two horses, and then it was a giant coach with four horses. And like I literally just learned how to drive this coach to be able to do this part in this movie, like randomly. And there's been so many times where there's a skill you need, and they'll teach you how to do something cool in order to be able to do it as an actor, which I think is just it's just fun. Getting paid to learn something crazy like that is just that's really fun.
So you're quite a comedian, right?
Uh, well, I take comedic scripts and I try to make them funnier.
I want to
Like,
hear the funniest or the corniest joke you have on top of your head right now.
so I'll tell you the funniest thing that I think is it's the funniest, dirtiest thing that's ever been said on the Disney Channel, and I said it, and it's super corny, but I like it. Okay, at one point I was cleaning out like the attic in the house, and I'm complaining about whatever my lot in life and how like if I had had the advantages of Miley, I could have been a pop star too. Uh, and at one point, I'm holding these three juggling balls, and I say, "I'm just a boy with three balls and a dream." And like it's the dirtiest thing like ever, right? But like we were allowed, like there's S&P, standards and practices for the
Yeah.
shows. Like they'll flag all the dirty jokes and be like, "Yeah, it's not appropriate for kids." But they said since I was holding three juggling balls in my hand, they were like, "No, the balls are in evidence, so he can say I'm a boy with three balls in a dream."
Oh
So
my
for
God.
me, it was like a totally like crazy joke that probably should have been in the show, but I thought it was really funny that it made it in the show. So
That's hilarious. Oh my God. I can't even get that in my head.
I know.
So,
I say it all the time in my real life. I'm just a boy with three balls in a dream.
so you told me the best part about being an actor. So what's something that you wish was a little different, whether it's about management, whether it's about the scripts, or whether anything in
There's a
your life of it?
there's a ton of things I would change about the industry. I think honestly, like the thing that's most frustrating and disappointing about the current state of the industry is social media.
Yeah,
I think there's just too much emphasis on
their personal lives.
whether it's you like the necessity to put your personal life out there, the necessity to participate in it to further your career, because I've had plenty of auditions because I don't really enjoy doing it. I don't put a ton of effort into it. I've had auditions that I like my people try to submit me for, and then I didn't get to read for them because I didn't have enough followers on like Instagram. And followers on Instagram
Oh,
doesn't have anything to do with like how you are as an actor,
not at
and
all.
really whether you can draw an audience. But there are some casting people that like look at those things as a metric that are important. And I also think that like especially in an industry where so many young people are working and it's hard enough to sort of grow up in front of the world, like people are cruel when they are anonymous online, and some of the stuff that people say is real. Like you would never have the balls to say that to
In
someone's
person,
face.
no way.
Never.
Yeah.
And I remember when social media first started and I was doing things, and I would like go online to sort of see like, did people like the episode? How did people feel? And I might read like 10 straight things that were really positive, like, oh, Jackson's really funny, or I love that storyline, or whatever. And then there would be one that just be like, that dude's annoying. He's so stupid. I hate that. Like, and the one thing would stick in my head more than the 10 positive things. And I realized for me, it's just like from a mental health standpoint, like I just am not geared to engage with that stuff. But there is this really crazy push to be more involved. And it's something that I've resisted for a long time. But yeah, that's something that really frustrates me at the moment about
Yeah.
the current state of the industry.
I think when you're doing a good job in whatever you're doing and you're getting national spotlight, people want to dig deeper into your personal life. For example, Elon Musk, he's founder of Tesla, world's richest person right now. And people are so concerned about how his dad actually in South Africa had a kid with his stepdaughter. How that's not important anyway, has nothing to do with his career. And they're over here harassing the stepdaughter on Instagram. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, it was none of their business in the first place. Has nothing to do with Tesla, has nothing to do with cars, has nothing to do with business or money at all. You
Yeah.
know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Well,
Yeah, and I also think that in some ways that like it degrades the quality of entertainment.
I agree. I
You know what I mean?
agree.
Because there ends up being all this emphasis on these weird sort of, I don't know, like I think I really appreciate some of the stuff that's on like TikTok or Instagram. I think some of the content is really innovative and really interesting and funny and informative. I think there is some value to it. But when you take people who like behave badly
Mhm.
and you put them on a reality show or you put them on a social media platform and you give them a voice and they get really, really rich because of their bad behavior, I think it just sets kind of a terrible example for everyone. You know what
It
I mean?
does. Yeah,
It
it
ruins
does.
the public discussion about like what's good and how our lives could be better and how the country could be better and what is good entertainment. I don't know.
It
It's a tough one for me.
It does. I agree. And then, but at the same time, when people are so good at their work and hey, they forget that they're a human being and they make mistakes. Hey, there are actors that do get DWIs. There do actors that have affairs, but hey, that has nothing to do with the content that they produce. You
Yeah.
know, that has nothing to do with it at all. So I don't see a reason as to why people have to focus so much on their personal life and let it degrade the quality of work that they put out or try to label them from that because that has nothing to do with acting. Not
100%. Yeah.
What's something you learned throughout your career?
I think the thing that I learned was to not be so narrowly focused. I moved to LA with the very specific goal of like just being an actor, and I didn't have any ins. You know what I mean? Like I don't have anybody that works in the industry. I didn't have anybody that could really help me out. So when I first moved there, I was doing a lot of extra work and stand-in work. To try to get my SAG card. And it took a couple of years to get an agent to be able to even audition for acting roles. And then and then as I got acting roles, like I started to really pay attention to what different people were doing, like the different departments and the different positions in different departments and what it actually meant to direct an episode, like what were the real responsibilities there. I spent a ton of time in the writer's room on both Hannah Montana and on Kickin' It. So I got a chance to see like from beginning to end the genesis of those scripts and how much effort went into all those jokes. And so like as an actor, I was much more inclined to do my very, very best to make the jokes work. Even if I didn't think they were like the funniest to me, I felt a responsibility based on how much work went into it to give it my best shot. And
Mhm.
so like the more I broaden the scope of what I wanted to learn about that was going on set and all the different positions. Like I think it makes me better in any given job that I'm actually doing. You know, when I'm directing, I think about it in terms of like, as an actor, how would I want this note? Like what would I need to hear to understand what the director wants? And so that's how I direct. And when I'm acting, I try to understand what the director is going for because he may give me a note that he needs something to happen technically for cameras, right? And so like I'm going to try to do the right character things, but give them what he needs technically or she needs technically, to make their job easier, because the more I understand about what they're doing, the easier it is for me to do that for them. And yeah, so I think as time has gone on, you know, I've been in the writer's room, I've written some stuff, I've pitched stuff, I've directed, I've been a producer, I've traveled outside of LA, I've worked locally, and I've tried to experience as much of the different parts of it as possible. So with whatever job I'm doing, I just end up doing a better job at it, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, basically don't get so stuck up with the routine. Try to go out of your box as well.
Yeah, I think the more well-rounded we are and the more we are exposed to, just the better, more interesting people we are. And it's easier to relate to people as they're doing whatever it is that they have to do, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So lastly, are there any projects that you have out right now or you're working on right now?
I've been doing a lot of writing because, I mean, with the pandemic, the industry has been very slow. There hasn't been a ton of stuff in production. You know, we've been working on High School Musical, the series in Salt Lake. I'm sort of like an acting coach, mentor for the kids on the show. Like I help them like in their regular lives as they adapt to the success of the show. I help them with character stuff. I help reinforce good acting habits. I mean, I do a lot of like sort of weird things on this show. And this has been the set that I've been on the most recently. But I've been writing stuff in the downtime. And
this is for High School Musical, you said?
Yeah, for High School Musical.
High School Musical, yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of been like where my day-to-day has been recently, but have been pitching some stuff, and hopefully as the industry picks back up, you know, I'll have more exciting things to share. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Good luck with everything, man. I hope you guys are sometime able to actually get back on campus and enjoy the college experience, man.
I hope so. Thank you everybody for watching, and stay tuned for the next podcast. Bye guys. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, hit the subscribe button, and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a single video. Bye for now.